congratulations, Camila. I think she played a great match today. And I wish you luck for the rest of the tournament. Maraming salamat sa lahat sa inyo. Nanood sa akin, sayang, hindi pumasa, hindi pumasa ngayon sa level, pero ang importante nandito ako sa Manila, nandito ako sa Pilipinas, kaya maraming salamat. Nandito ang WTA. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I really hope you guys get inspired and learn to love tennis, and I hope it grows here. You know, because I love tennis so much, and I'm so lucky that I'm able to share, you know, these experiences and this journey with all of you. So thank you.
Okay, Alex, thank you. You know the Philippines loves you and will be watching every game, no matter what country nandun ang mga Pinoy para sa'yo.
Salamat. Thank you.
She always would talk about the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is not to win the tournament, but to have the tournament here in the Philippines, the first ever.
Alex Eala's coach just disclosed the devastating reality behind her emotional collapse following the Philippine Women's Open defeat. And everything we believed about that match is altered by what he revealed. Her coach seized the microphone and delivered a shocking revelation that stunned the whole press conference, as detractors criticized her for being overrated and mentally weak for sobbily apologizing to her nation. Alex choked under strain, but she wasn't weeping. She was in tears since she had an injury that should have required her to use crutches for the whole game. Before we discuss what the coach disclosed, please leave a comment and let me know if you believe Alex should have skipped the competition to safeguard her health, or if she was justified in playing through the injury for the benefit of the spectators.
Alex, my question. It was a past 3 days, but how was your assessment about your play here in the Philippine Women's Open?
I think it was an overall good week. Of course, disappointed about today. I definitely think I've had better days, but it's just how it is. I have to accept it, and there's always next week. Yeah.
Okay, so let's discuss the recent events at the Philippine Women's Open, because the narrative that everyone believes to be true is utterly inaccurate. With red, bulging eyes, Alex Eala sat in front of cameras and apologized to the whole country. She referred to herself as a letdown. She stated she let her supporters down and accepted full responsibility for her defeat. She was criticized on the internet right away for being psychologically weak and unprepared for the huge platform. However, all of your assumptions regarding that match are incorrect. Alex's coach, Music, came forward minutes after Alex left the press room and disclosed a startling revelation that totally reframed what we had just seen. Because she wasn't good enough, Alex didn't lose. She lost because she was engaged in an invisible conflict. This wasn't just another random competition, so let's go back in time and establish the scene. This was the Philippine Women's Open, and the WTA 125 circuit has arrived in the Philippines for the first time ever. The country watched Alex Eala grow up in front of them for years. She left her family early to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, won the US Open Juniors, fought her way up the rankings, cracked the top 50, and became a ray of hope for a nation in dire need of a world-class tennis star. The excitement was so intense when it was revealed that she will eventually participate in a professional competition in Manila. Within minutes, the tickets were gone. A throng eager for a coronation, drums and banners filled the Roll Memorial Tennis Center, which turned into a cauldron. Before the first ball was hit, the narrative was written. The Queen had returned home to take possession of her throne. However, Colombian superstar Camila Osorio was hiding in the draw. A fierce warrior with a reputation for working her baseline game and never giving up, she was once ranked in the top 35. She wasn't a tourist in Manila. She arrived to triumph. Behind the smiles and well-written press releases, something was amiss in the heart of the Eala camp. Absolutely incorrect.
Stay strong and a great hug at the net by the two competitors.
The small limp in between points and the pause before Alex pushed off her left foot were signs we started to see in previous rounds. It was dismissed at the time as stiffness or nervousness. We mentioned how young she is. She'll get over it. But as the game versus Osorio drew nearer, the noise level in the locker room increased. There was a problem with the Philippine tennis Golden Girl. The contest started in the sweltering heat of Manila. The noise was so loud when Alex entered the court. Every Filipino there thought they were watching history as her name reverberated around the stadium. On domestic territory, a domestic champion hoisting a prize. However, the plot disintegrated in the first few games. Being a predator, Camila Osorio pounced as soon as she detected vulnerability.
There was a bit of discomfort and nothing serious. I have a day now to see how it goes. I'll just let it relax and wake up tomorrow and see how I feel. Yeah.
She repeatedly made Alex to run, halt, and pivot as she pulled her side to side with vicious rallies, drop shots, and deep looping balls. Alex appeared to be a little sluggish. She had lost the spectacular opening play that makes her game unique. Usually a laser, that signature backhand down the line started to fly inches wide. With each point she won, the fans erupted in an attempt to push her forward. However, the anguish was evident on her face. This was not the pain of defeat. Something far more tangible was involved. There are times when Alex flinched after serving in the opening set, which she lost 6-2. There were times when she gazed up at her box in desperation rather than irritation. All her squad could do was watch helplessly as their fighter attempted to force herself through what seemed like an insurmountable task. Alex was forced to chase and again plant his wounded foot as Osorio showed no compassion, hammering ball after ball deep into the corners. A feeling of fear permeated every Filipino who was observing. This was not intended to occur. Not in front of her people, not now, not here. However, tennis is an inhumane sport. It is indifferent to fairy tales and storytelling. The only person rewarded is the one who can hit the ball more accurately that day. The second set turned into an attrition battle. Alex battled despite being down a set and up against a better opponent that day. She fought, my God. The crowd exploded as she broke Aoreo's serve. Hope returned like a wave of a title. It briefly seemed as though the unthinkable may yet occur. At 4 games all, however, the pivotal moment arrived. One of the several drop shots Osorio had utilized to prolong the match, Alex ran to another one. The stadium went quiet when she put her foot to reverse course. She froze but did not collapse. Even from the uppermost seats, her face displayed a grimace of absolute misery. Something had failed. She lost the game after losing the point, and minutes later it was done 6-4. Camila Osorio moved on, and the dream ended there, even though they had saved match points and the audience had begged for one more push. The ensuing quiet was eerie. Shock, not just disappointment. It seemed unsatisfactory, like though Alex hadn't put forth all of his effort. As music, fans started to cry in shock. Confusion swept across the stands. How could the moment that we had all been anticipating come to this end? What caused the next 30 minutes to be so terrible is the question. We were all unaware that Alex Eala had just played the game of her life. In terms of unadulterated bravery rather than outcome. After half an hour, Alex appeared smaller than we had ever seen her as she entered the press room while sporting her national team jacket. Despite wearing makeup, there were still traces of tears in her crimson eyes. After settling in and adjusting the microphone, she broke before finishing the first question. She sobbed as she admitted to disappointing those who had always stood by her. She claimed to have failed her nation. Consider the burden such remarks would have on a 20-year-old. She made no accusations. She made no justifications. She accepted full responsibility for her perceived failure. She desired to present a prize to her people. Her goal was to bring them pride. She also thought she had failed. She never talked about the pain, the injuries, or the real issues she was facing. Rather, she accepted full responsibility, leading the world to assume that she had just lost it under duress. Alexandra Eala placed everyone else's reputation ahead of her own at that precise time. her squad, the sponsors, the competition, and even her rival. Instead of disclosing the truth, she would prefer to be perceived as weak. And social media took off in a matter of minutes. Typing was done by critics who had never used a racket. They claimed she was psychologically weak, overvalued, and incapable of handling pressure. The poisoning happened right away. She was now being torn apart by the same sounds that had been shouting her name an hour before. However, Alex's coaching crew was discreetly standing in the back of the room as she broke down on live television. Her head coach shook his head in shock, his face brimming with passion and his hands clenched. He was at his breaking point. He couldn't watch helplessly while his player fell on her sword in order to keep a secret. Even though he had vowed to keep quiet, it was intolerable to see her ruin herself in front of everyone. The coach came forward as Alex sobbed as she was led away. He didn't hold out for a call. He seized the microphone and unleashed a shocking revelation that would completely upend the tennis world. The room started to get quiet. When the coach's shout roared across the room, journalists began shutting down laptops and mentally creating headlines about Alex breaking under pressure. He instructed everyone to take a seat. Nobody was going anywhere. He was going to tell them the genuine tale, if they asked for one. He had no resentment against Alex. He felt bad for her. He claimed to have just heard her take full responsibility, apologize, and admit that she had let the nation down. Then he stopped, looked directly into cameras, and said something that would cause a stir in the sports community. He said, "What she didn't tell you. She specifically prohibited us from informing anyone that she wasn't supposed to be out on foot that day, much less playing tennis professionally." There was a gasp in the room. Reporters rushed to open laptops again. The recorders reactivated. Cameras quickly swung around to focus on him. The truth then surfaced. Alex had sustained a grade 2 rupture in her ankle ligaments during practice 3 days prior. She was advised to withdraw by the doctors. She was instructed to back off by the coach. Her relatives pleaded with her to stop. They performed MRI scans. Her ankle was twice as big as it should have been. Just to be able to put on shoes, she had to spend 6 hours a day in the therapy room. The ache was unbearable. Crutches would have been used by any regular individual. Next, the coach held his phone up to the cameras. The picture was shot a few hours before to the game. Alex's ankle was awful to look at, severely bandaged, and black and blue. Later, medical observers stated that playing on an ankle like that was, at best, medically inappropriate and, at worst, dangerously irresponsible. Despite the significant danger of converting a grade 2 tear into a total rupture, she persisted. The coach went on, tears welling up in his own eyes. He said that after glancing at him, Alex informed him that her people were present. They purchased tickets. They waited. She refused to give up. After receiving painkillers to go out of the tunnel, she battled a world-class opponent in 2 hours of intense tennis play, virtually on one leg. There was complete stillness in the press room. The coach's voice then broke and became animated. He slammed his fist on the table and said, "She didn't lose because she was weak. Her physical limitations caused her to lose, but her spirit remained unbroken." He claimed that the greatest unselfish gesture he had ever seen in his coaching career was the apology that the world just heard. Because she didn't want anyone to be concerned, she accepted responsibility. Didn't want to conceal oneself by being injured. Didn't want to ruin the competition. He stated unequivocally that she is not a failure. "I have never coached an athlete as difficult as she is. Give that some thought." Alexandra Eala was competing while suffering from a grade 2 ligament injury, while detractors analyzed her missed backhands and questioned her attitude. An injury that feels like a dagger piercing your ankle with each push-off, or like walking on shattered glass. The agony is overwhelming, sickening, and blinding. She had to place that damaged foot on each return. Shock waves were delivered through a compromised limb with each serve. However, she never sought sympathy, never exaggerated the agony, and never phoned the trainer. She toyed while biting down. She pursued balls that were out of her grasp. She knew how important this event was to the Philippines, so she battled for every single point. To the families that put money aside for the tickets. To the young girls carrying placards bearing her name. to those who have been waiting for decades to witness world-class women's tennis in their own country. Withdrawing would destroy hearts, she knew. Instead, she decided to break her own body. Then, all of a sudden, that match is different. They weren't mistakes. They were miracles. She went to the ball as well. That score of 6,464 does not indicate a loss. It demonstrates an unfathomable degree of skill and determination. It is world-class to take Camila Osorio to a close two-setter on almost only one leg. It is renowned. There you have it, then. Instead of disclosing the ailment, Alex Eala's coach said she apologized for losing and played the whole Philippine Women's Open quarterfinal with a grade 2 ankle ligament tear that should have placed her on crutches. In reality, the hardest performance her coach has ever seen was what detractors referred to as mental weakness. Click like and subscribe if you think Alex shown amazing bravery, or if you think she ought to have backed down. Please let me know in the comments if the coach was correct to disclose her ailment against her will.